My dad gave my wedding fund to my sister and said, she deserves it. Then my fiancé stood up. They say you never forget the moment your life changes forever. For me, it wasn't a proposal, a graduation, or a career achievement. It was a Thursday evening at my parents' house, sitting at the same dining table where I'd eaten thousands of meals, when my father looked me in the eye and told me that the money he'd promised me, the wedding fund he'd been contributing to since I was born, was gone. Given away. To my sister. Because, in his words, she deserves it more than you do. I'm going to tell you this story from the beginning, because the ending only makes sense when you understand how deeply the roots of favoritism had grown in my family. My name is Elena, and for 28 years, I was the daughter who did everything right and got nothing in return. I told him about my work, my love of hiking, my complicated relationship with my family, though I kept the details vague. James was thoughtful, curious, kind. He remembered small things I mentioned and brought them up later. He never tried to impress me with money or status. He drove a 10-year-old Honda Civic. He lived in a modest apartment in southeast Portland. He dressed simply, spoke humbly, treated service workers with genuine respect. We fell into an easy rhythm. Dates every week, coffee shops, food carts, hikes in Forest Park, trips to Powell's Books where we'd browse for hours. He was brilliant in this quiet, unassuming way. He could talk about anything, philosophy, technology, art, politics, but he never talked down to me or made me feel small. After 3 months of dating, I knew I was in love with him. After 6 months, I was certain he was the person I wanted to spend my life with. But there was something he wasn't telling me. I could sense it. It was small things at first. He'd get phone calls he'd step away to take. He'd sometimes mention work stuff, but change the subject quickly. Once, I saw him at a restaurant talking to a man in an expensive suit, and when I asked about it later, he said it was just a business meeting and seemed uncomfortable. I began to wonder if he was hiding something serious. Was he married? In debt? Involved in something illegal? The not knowing gnawed at me. Then, 10 months into our relationship, everything became clear. We were at his apartment, cooking dinner together, a habit we'd developed. I was chopping vegetables when my phone buzzed. I picked it up and saw a text from my coworker. OMG, did you see that Whitmore Tech just got acquired by Microsoft? $240 million deal. James Whitmore is about to be so rich. I stared at the message. Then I looked at James, who was stirring pasta sauce at the stove, completely at ease. James, I said slowly, do you own Whitmore Tech? He froze. The wooden spoon stopped moving. He didn't turn around. Did you just find out? He asked quietly. You're James Whitmore. The James Whitmore. You founded Whitmore Tech. He finally turned to face me. His expression was careful, almost vulnerable. Yes. I set down my phone. My mind was racing. Whitmore Tech was a major player in cloud infrastructure. I'd read about the company in trade publications. The founder, James Whitmore, was notoriously private, rarely gave interviews, avoided the tech celebrity circuit. You've been lying to me for 10 months, I said. I haven't lied, he said quickly. I just didn't tell you everything. Why? He turned off the stove and came over to me. Elena, do you know how many people have wanted to be close to me because of my money? How many friendships turned out to be networking opportunities? How many women suddenly became interested the moment they found out about the company? I shook my head, still processing. When I met you, he continued, you didn't know who I was. You talked to me like I was just a person, not a meal ticket or a business opportunity. Just James. I haven't felt that way in years. I wanted to know if we could build something real before money became part of the equation. I understood, intellectually, but emotionally, I felt betrayed. You should have told me. I know, he said. I was going to. I kept trying to find the right time, and then the acquisition happened faster than I expected. Elena, I'm sorry. I should have been honest sooner. We talked for hours that night. He showed me everything, the acquisition documents, the news articles, his financial statements. The number was staggering. After the Microsoft deal and his existing investments, James was worth approximately $180 million. I'd been dating a multimillionaire who drove a Honda Civic and clipped coupons. Why do you live like this? I asked, gesturing around his modest apartment. He shrugged. This is who I am. The money doesn't change that. I still like the same things, value the same things. I'm going to do good with it. Invest in educational programs, renewable energy, affordable housing. But I don't need a mansion or a Ferrari to be happy. I just need this. He gestured between us. If you still want this. I did. After the shock wore off, I realized nothing fundamental had changed. He was still the man I'd fallen in love with, thoughtful, kind, genuine. The money was just a circumstance, not his identity. We moved forward, stronger than before. James proposed 6 months later, on a Saturday morning hike at Silver Falls. No flash mob, no photographer, no elaborate setup. Just the two of us, standing at the base of South Falls, the water cascading down the rocks, the morning sun filtering through the trees. He got down on one knee on the trail, pulled out a simple platinum band with a single diamond, elegant but not ostentatious, and asked me to marry him. I said yes before he finished the question. The ring was beautiful, probably cost more than my car, but James had chosen it thoughtfully. I wanted something that felt like you, he said. Classic, understated, but strong. We decided to tell our families separately. James's parents, Roger and Linda Whitmore, both retired teachers living in Seattle, were thrilled. They video called us that evening, both of them crying happy tears, telling me they'd never seen James so happy, welcoming me into their family with open arms. My family was different. I called my parents and asked if I could come by Sunday for lunch. I wanted to tell them in person. James offered to come with me, but I said no. I wanted to share this news with my family privately first, to have one moment where it was just about me and them. I should have known better. Sunday lunch at my parents' house. The same dining room table. The same cream walls. My mother had made pot roast. My father's favorite, not mine. Natalie was there too, which was becoming rare. At 25, she'd moved into a trendy apartment in the Alberta Arts District, funded mostly by our parents. I waited until after the meal was served. My heart was pounding. Despite everything, despite years of being overlooked, some part of me still hoped for their genuine happiness. I have some news, I said, smiling. James proposed. We're engaged. There was a beat of silence. My mother looked up from her plate. My father continued cutting his meat. Natalie glanced at me with something I couldn't quite read. Oh, my mother said. That's nice, honey. Congratulations. Nice. That was it. Can I see the ring? Natalie asked. I extended my hand across the table. Natalie leaned in, studied it, then sat back. Cute, she said. Is it real? The question stung. Yes, it's real. My father finally looked up. What does this James do for work again? He's in tech, I said carefully. He founded a company that was recently acquired. Is he making decent money? My father asked. You'll need stability. He's very financially stable, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Well, that's good, my mother said. I'm happy for you, Elena. You've always been so practical. I'm sure you'll have a sensible wedding. Sensible. The word felt like acid. Actually, I said, James and I were thinking of having the wedding next spring. Nothing too extravagant, but something meaningful. And I was hoping to use the wedding fund you've been saving for me." The room went silent. My father set down his fork slowly. My mother's expression shifted into something guarded. Natalie suddenly became very interested in her water glass. "About that," my father said. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. "What about it?" I asked. My father cleared his throat. "Elena, you've always been independent. You've never needed much from us. You paid for your own college, you have a good job, you're financially secure. Your sister, on the other hand—" "Don't," I said quietly. "Natalie is getting married too," my mother interjected, her voice taking on a defensive tone. I turned to look at Natalie. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "You're engaged?" I asked. "Yeah," Natalie said softly. "To Derek. He proposed last month." Derek. Her boyfriend of 8 months. A personal trainer with decent looks and not much else going for him, from what I'd seen. "Congratulations," I said automatically. "But what does that have to do with my wedding fund?" My father sighed like I was being difficult. "Natalie needs the money more than you do. Derek doesn't come from money. They can't afford a nice wedding on their own. You, on the other hand, are marrying someone financially stable. You'll be fine." The words hit me like a physical blow. "That money was set aside for me," I said, my voice shaking. "Grandma gave it to you specifically for my wedding." "Your grandmother gave us that money to use as we saw fit," my father corrected. "She wanted it to go toward a wedding in the family. Natalie's wedding needs it more." "How much is in the fund?" I demanded. "That's not really—" "How much?" My mother spoke up. "With interest and contributions over the years, it's about $45,000. $45,000. My grandmother's gift, 28 years of compound interest, contributions I'd been counting on. Gone." "You've already given it to her," I said. "It wasn't a question. We transferred it last week," my father confirmed. "Natalie has already put deposits down on the venue, the catering, the photographer. It's done, Elena." "You didn't even tell me," I said. "You didn't ask. You just took it." "We didn't take anything," my father said, his voice rising. "That money was ours to allocate. We made a decision based on who needed it more. Natalie deserves to have a beautiful wedding. You've never cared about that kind of thing anyway." There it was. The justification that had defined my entire childhood. "Natalie deserves it. You don't need it. You'll be fine." "She deserves it," I repeated, my voice hollow. "Natalie, who has never paid for anything in her life. Natalie, who you've given everything to while I've worked for every single thing I have. She deserves my grandmother's money." "Don't be dramatic," my mother said. "You're a grown woman with a good job. You'll have a nice wedding regardless." "That's not the point." I was shouting now. "This isn't about the money. This is about you, once again, choosing her over me. About you breaking a promise you made to me because she matters more." "Elena, calm down." "No. I'm done being calm. I'm done being understanding. I'm done pretending this is normal." Natalie finally spoke, her voice small. "Elena, I'm sorry, but I really did need it. The venue I wanted costs. I don't care what the venue costs." I turned to her. "Did you ask them to do this? Did you ask them to take my money?" She didn't answer, but the guilt on her face told me everything. "You knew," I said. "You knew it was supposed to be mine, and you asked for it anyway." "You're marrying someone rich," Natalie said, her voice gaining strength. "You don't need it. I'm marrying a personal trainer. This money makes the difference between a beautiful wedding and a courthouse ceremony." Then have a courthouse ceremony. I shouted. Or wait. Or save up. Or have Derek's family contribute. But don't take what isn't yours. My father slammed his hand on the table. Enough. This is our decision, and it's final. Natalie needs this money, and you don't. That's the end of the discussion. I stared at him, at all of them. My mother, who wouldn't meet my eyes. My father, who looked at me with irritation rather than love. Natalie, who looked defiant and guilty in equal measure. You're right, I said quietly. I don't need it. I don't need any of you. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked toward the door. Elena, don't be childish, my mother called after me. I turned back at the doorway. Childish? I've been the adult in this family since I was 12 years old. You want to know what's childish? Parents who play favorites. Parents who break promises to one daughter because the other one wants something shiny. Parents who tell their child she doesn't deserve what was meant for her. We never said you didn't deserve it, my father said. Yes, you did. You said Natalie deserves it more. Which means I deserve it less. That's math, Dad. Simple math. I left before they could respond, got in my car, and drove away from that house knowing something fundamental had broken that couldn't be repaired. I drove straight to James's apartment, tears streaming down my face. He took one look at me and pulled me inside, held me while I sobbed, listened while I told him everything. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'm going to handle this. James, no. It's not worth it. Let them have their golden child and their perfect wedding. I'm done. Elena, listen to me. He took my face in his hands. This isn't about the money. You're right about that. This is about respect. This is about them treating you like you're disposable. And I'm not going to stand by and let that happen. What are you going to do? He smiled, but there was steel in it. I'm going to make them understand exactly what they threw away. James insisted we go back to my parents' house the next evening. I didn't want to, but he was adamant. Trust me, he said. One more dinner. Then you never have to see them again if you don't want to. He called my mother directly, introduced himself, said he'd love to meet them properly now that we were engaged. My mother, probably curious about this man with money, readily agreed. We arrived at 6 o'clock. My father answered the door, shook James's hand with that overly firm grip men use to establish dominance. My mother welcomed us with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Natalie and Derek were there too. Of course. Dinner was awkward. My parents asked James surface-level questions about his work, his family, his intentions. He answered politely, modestly. He didn't mention Whitmore Tech. He didn't mention the acquisition. He played the part of the humble tech worker perfectly. Natalie dominated the conversation, talking about wedding plans, the venue in wine country, the designer dress, the destination bachelorette party in Cabo. Every detail seemed designed to emphasize how much it all cost. I sat quietly, barely touching my food. James held my hand under the table. Finally, my father brought up the wedding fund. I hope Elena explained our decision, he said to James. We allocated the wedding fund to Natalie. Elena understands that she doesn't really need it, given your situation. My situation, James repeated mildly. Well, you're employed in tech, doing well for yourself from what we understand. You'll be able to give Elena a nice wedding. Define doing well, James said. My father frowned. I assume you make a comfortable salary. I don't make a salary, James said. I haven't for about 5 years. The room went silent. I could see my father's expression shift, concern creeping in. You're unemployed? My mother asked, her voice rising. Not exactly. James set down his fork and leaned back in his chair. Let me clarify something. My full name is James Richard Whitmore. I founded Whitmore Tech in 2016. Last year, Microsoft acquired my company for $240 million. My personal net worth, after taxes and investments, is approximately $180 million. You could have heard a pin drop. Natalie's face went white. Derek's mouth literally fell open. My mother's hand flew to her chest. My father just stared, processing. That's not possible, my mother stammered. James pulled out his phone, tapped a few times, and turned it around to show them. It was a Forbes article, Tech Entrepreneur James Whitmore on Why He Shuns the Spotlight After $240 Million Exit. It's possible, James said calmly. I keep a low profile. I don't like publicity. But yes, I'm that James Whitmore. The silence stretched on. I watched my family's faces cycle through disbelief, shock, calculation. Finally, my father found his voice. Well, that's incredible, James. Congratulations on your success. Thank you, James said. Now, let's talk about that wedding fund. I don't think that's necessary, my mother began. I think it is, James interrupted, his voice still polite but firm. You took $45,000 that was set aside for Elena's wedding and gave it to Natalie. The justification was that Elena doesn't need it because she's marrying someone financially stable. Now that you know exactly how financially stable I am, I'd like to discuss getting that money back. James, we already explained. My father started. You explained that Natalie deserves it more, James cut him off. That Elena, quote, doesn't need it and will be fine. But here's what I think actually happened. You've spent 28 years investing more in Natalie than Elena. Emotionally, financially, in every way that matters. Elena learned to be independent because she had no choice. And you've interpreted her strength, her ability to thrive despite your neglect, as evidence that she doesn't need your support. That's not love. That's convenient. Now wait just a minute. My father's face was turning red. I'm not finished, James said, his voice hardening. That money wasn't yours to give away. It came from Elena's grandmother specifically for Elena's wedding. You held it in trust. You broke that trust. And more than that, you broke a promise to your daughter because it was easier than telling Natalie no. You don't know what you're talking about, my mother said, her voice shaking. We've always treated both our daughters fairly. Have you? James turned to me. Elena, tell me about your childhood. Did your parents treat you and Natalie fairly? I hadn't planned to do this. But sitting there, with James beside me and my parents across from me, something broke open. No, I said quietly. They didn't. And then I told them. Everything. Every theater program I couldn't join while Natalie got dance lessons. Every achievement of mine that was overshadowed by Natalie's mediocrity. Every time I paid for something myself while Natalie got it handed to her. The pattern of neglect disguised as independence. The years of feeling invisible in my own family. My mother started crying. We never meant. Yes, you did, I said. Maybe not consciously, but you did. You chose her over and over again. And I learned to live with it. But this, taking my wedding fund, this was the final betrayal. Because it proved that even when you explicitly set something aside for me, even when you made a promise, Natalie's wants matter more than my needs. Natalie was crying now too. Elena, I'm sorry, I didn't. You did, I said. You asked them for my money. You knew it was meant for me, and you asked anyway. Because you've never had to think about anyone but yourself. Derek, to his credit, looked horrified. Natalie, you told me your parents were paying for the wedding out of savings. You didn't tell me they took it from your sister. It's not like she needs it. Natalie burst out. Look at who she's marrying. She's going to have everything handed to her now. That's not how it works, James said coldly. My money is my money. Elena didn't know about it for most of our relationship. She fell in love with me when she thought I was a regular guy making a regular salary. She doesn't want my money, she wants a partner who values her. Something she never got from this family. How dare you come into our house and… my father began. How dare you treat your daughter like she's disposable, James cut him off. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to transfer that $45,000 back to Elena. All of it. Today. We can't, my mother said. Natalie's already spent some of it on deposits. Then Natalie can get a refund, or you can take out a loan, or you can sell something. I don't care how you do it, but that money is going back to Elena. And if we refuse, my father said, trying to regain some authority. James smiled, and it wasn't pleasant. Then I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. Your friends, your neighbors, your church community. I'll hire a PR firm if I have to. I'll make this story public. And trust me, when people hear about parents who stole their daughter's inheritance to fund their favorite child's party, you'll become social pariahs. You wouldn't, my mother whispered. Try me, James said. I've built a $200 million company from nothing. I know how to get things done. And I protect what's mine. Elena is mine now. She's my family. And I don't let anyone hurt my family. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, my father spoke, his voice defeated. Fine. We'll return the money. Good, James said. He stood up, and I stood with him. You have 48 hours. Transfer it to Elena's account. And then, if I were you, I'd spend some time thinking about how you managed to raise an extraordinary daughter and make her feel worthless. We walked out. As we reached the door, I heard Natalie crying, my mother trying to console her. My father hadn't said another word. James drove me home, to his apartment, which had become more my home than my own place. We didn't talk for a while. I just sat there, processing. Did I go too far? James finally asked. No, I said. You went exactly far enough. My parents transferred the money back 3 days later. No note. No apology. Just a bank transfer with a memo line, wedding fund return. $45,000 appeared in my account. Money that had been promised to me, taken from me, and now reluctantly returned. I felt nothing about the money itself, but I felt everything about what it represented. Natalie called me 6 times over the next week. I didn't answer. She sent long text messages, apologies mixed with justifications, explanations mixed with blame. I didn't know they'd take it from you, she wrote in one message. They said they'd handle it. As if she hadn't actively benefited from the theft. My mother called too. Elena, please. Let's talk about this like adults. You've always been so understanding. Understanding. Another word for doormat. I didn't return any of their calls. James and I planned our wedding. We did it our way, a small ceremony at Cannon Beach, just 60 people. His parents, our real friends, colleagues who'd become family. Beautiful but intimate. Personal. We didn't invite my parents or Natalie. 2 weeks before the wedding, Natalie showed up at my apartment. I opened the door to find her standing there, mascara running, looking genuinely devastated. Please talk to me, she begged. I can't get married without you there. You're my sister. Now I'm your sister, I said. When you wanted my money, I was just an obstacle. That's not fair. Mom and Dad made that decision, not me. You asked them to, Natalie. You knew about the fund, and you asked for it. Don't pretend you're innocent. She was crying hard now. I know. I know I was selfish. I know I've always been selfish. But Elena, I love you. I do. And I can't imagine getting married without you beside me. Then you should have thought about that before you took what was mine. I'll pay you back, she said desperately. I'll cancel the venue, cancel everything, give you the money back. I don't want your money, Natalie. I want you to understand what you did. To really understand. Do you? She nodded, tears streaming. I took something that mattered to you. I prioritized what I wanted over what you deserved. I let Mom and Dad treat you like you were less important than me. I've done it my whole life. Yes, I said. You have. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I mean it. I believed her. For the first time, I actually believed she understood. Thank you for apologizing, I said. But Natalie, I can't have you at my wedding. I can't have any of you there. Because when I marry James, I want to be surrounded only by people who value me. People who've shown up for me. You haven't earned that place in my life anymore. Can I ever, she asked, earn it back? Maybe, I said honestly, but not right now. Right now, I need distance. I need to build a life that isn't defined by being second best in my own family. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and left. I cried after she was gone, because despite everything, she was still my sister. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to choose yourself. James and I got married on a Saturday in May. The weather was perfect. Clear skies, mild breeze, the ocean stretching out endlessly behind us. His parents walked me down the aisle. Linda on one side, Roger on the other. They'd insisted, and I'd cried when they offered. You're our daughter now, Linda had said. Let us do this for you. The ceremony was simple and perfect. Our officiant was a friend from college. We wrote our own vows. When it was James's turn, he took my hands and looked at me with such intensity that everything else faded away. Elena, he said, I promise to always see you. Not just physically, but really see you. Your struggles, your triumphs, your worth. I promise to never let you feel invisible again. I promise to be your family, your partner, your home. I promise to choose you every single day without hesitation. I was crying before he finished. When it was my turn, I could barely speak. James, you showed me what it means to be valued. Not for what I can do or how little I need, but just for who I am. You taught me that I deserve to take up space. You taught me that asking for what I need isn't weakness. You taught me that love isn't about earning or deserving. It's about choosing and being chosen. I promise to build a life with you where we both matter, where we both shine, where neither of us is ever invisible. We kissed. Everyone cheered. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, fully seen. At the reception, Roger gave a toast. To Elena, he said, raising his glass, who is already the daughter we always hoped for. Welcome to our family. I caught Linda wiping her eyes. This was what family was supposed to feel like. We danced, we laughed, we celebrated with people who genuinely cared about us. It was everything a wedding should be. James and I honeymooned in New Zealand. 2 weeks of hiking, exploring, being completely present with each other. No family drama. No wedding stress. Just us. When we got back, we bought a house, a beautiful craftsman in the West Hills with a view of Mount Hood. We made it ours. A home built on partnership and respect. We decided what to do with the wedding fund money. James didn't want me to use it for our wedding. This is about principle, he'd said, not need. So we'd paid for our wedding ourselves and saved the $45,000. We donated it. We established a scholarship fund for first-generation college students who demonstrate self-sufficiency and resilience. Students who, like me, had learned to survive without support. Students who'd been overlooked, underestimated, told they didn't need help because they were strong enough to make it on their own. The Elena Whitmore Scholarship. It would help 5 students each year cover costs that financial aid didn't: books, housing deposits, professional clothes, emergency funds. The invisible expenses that can derail a struggling student. Turning that money, that symbol of everything wrong with my family, into something that would help others felt like the right kind of closure. Natalie and Derek got married in September. I heard about it through mutual acquaintances. The venue was downgraded, a local event space instead of wine country. The guest list was cut in half. My parents, I learned, had to take out a personal loan to cover the costs after returning my money. I didn't feel guilty. A week after her wedding, Natalie sent me photos. "I wanted you to see," her text said. "It was beautiful. But you were missing. That's all I could think about all day." I looked at the photos. She looked happy. The wedding looked nice. But I felt nothing. I didn't respond. Therapy helped. I started seeing a counselor 3 months after the wedding. I needed to process 28 years of feeling invisible, of conditioning myself to need nothing, of internalizing the message that I mattered less. My therapist helped me understand that my self-sufficiency, something I'd been proud of, was also a trauma response. I'd learned to need nothing because asking for things resulted in disappointment. I'd learned to celebrate alone because sharing joy meant being overshadowed. Unlearning those patterns was hard. Learning to ask James for support, to be vulnerable, to believe I deserved attention, it all felt foreign. But James was patient. "Take your time," he'd say when I apologized for struggling. "We're building something new here. It's okay if it takes a while." He showed me what healthy family looked like. His parents called weekly, visited monthly, asked about my life with genuine interest. They remembered details. They sent cards on my birthday, not just the day of, but a week early so it would arrive on time. They asked how I was doing with the estrangement from my family and didn't push me to reconcile. They simply loved me. No conditions. No comparisons. Just love. 18 months after our wedding, my mother showed up unannounced at our house. I opened the door to find her standing there with a baking dish covered in foil. "Hi, honey," she said, smiling nervously. "I made your favorite lasagna. Can I come in?" My favorite was chicken piccata. Lasagna was Natalie's favorite. But I stepped aside and let her in anyway, curious about what had brought her here. She sat at our kitchen table, the table James and I had picked out together, in our home, our space, and she looked around with barely concealed envy. The house was beautiful. James had insisted on hiring an interior designer, someone who listened to what I wanted and made it real. "This place is incredible," my mother said. "You've really done well for yourself." For yourself. Not "we're so proud." Not "you've built something beautiful." For yourself. "What do you want, Mom?" I asked, skipping the small talk. She sighed. "Elena, it's been over a year. Don't you think it's time to move past this? We're family." "You're right. It has been over a year. A year in which none of you reached out except to offer excuses or justifications. A year in which you never actually apologized. A year in which you made no effort to understand why I was hurt. We said we were sorry." "No, you didn't. You said, 'We never meant to hurt you,' which isn't the same thing. You justified your choice. You blamed me for being too sensitive. But you never actually said, 'We were wrong and we're sorry.'" My mother's face crumpled. "Fine. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Your father is too proud to come here and say it, but he is. Natalie cries about you all the time. We want our family back. Why now? I asked. What changed? She hesitated. Too long. Mom, what changed? Your father's business is struggling, she finally admitted. The economy's been tough, and he's had to let people go. We've had to cut back on expenses. And Natalie and Derek, they're having trouble making rent. She asked if they could move back home for a while, and we can't afford it. The loan we took out for her wedding, the expenses we're already carrying. There it was. They needed money. And James had money. So you're not here to apologize, I said slowly. You're here to ask for financial help. That's not. I mean, we are here to apologize, but if there were a way to help, just temporarily, get out. Elena, please, get out of my house. I stood up, shaking with rage. You stole from me. You chose Natalie over me for my entire life. You took my wedding fund and gave it to her. And now you show up here with a dish of food you think I like, pretending you want reconciliation, when what you really want is access to my husband's money. It's not like that. Yes, it is. It's exactly like that. You didn't care about me when you thought I was marrying a regular guy. But now that you know James is wealthy, suddenly you want to be a family again? You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry you gave away your access to money. My mother was crying now. We raised you. We took care of you. You owe us. I owe you nothing. My voice broke. I gave you 28 years of understanding, of being the easy daughter, of not needing anything. I asked for one thing, one single thing that was mine, and you gave it away. You don't get to demand more from me. Natalie is your sister. Natalie is an adult who made choices. She took money that wasn't hers. She planned an extravagant wedding she couldn't afford. And now she's facing consequences. That's not my problem. She's your family. No, I said quietly. She's not. Not anymore. Family doesn't treat each other the way you all treated me. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't show up only when they need something. You're not my family. You're just people I used to know. My mother stood up, abandoning the lasagna. You've changed, she said bitterly. Money changed you. You used to be kind. No, I corrected. I used to be a doormat. There's a difference. And yes, I've changed. I learned what I deserve. I learned that I matter. I learned that I don't have to accept crumbs and call it love. She left without another word. I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by the life James and I had built, and I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. That evening, I told James what happened. He listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening as I relayed the conversation. I'm proud of you, he said when I finished. I know that wasn't easy. It should have been, I said. Why do I still feel sad? They came here asking for money, not offering love. I should feel nothing. Because they're still your parents, James said gently. You can intellectually understand that they're toxic and still emotionally wish they were different. Both things can be true. He pulled me close. You know what I realized about your family, he said. They never saw you as a person. They saw you as a role. The responsible one. The independent one. The one who doesn't need anything. They couldn't see past that role to the actual human being underneath who deserved love and support and celebration. How did you see past it? I asked. Because I met you without context, he said. I didn't know you as the responsible daughter or the independent one. I just knew you as Elena. And Elena is brilliant, funny, thoughtful, passionate, vulnerable, strong, you're everything. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve access to you. I cried then. Not from sadness, but from relief. From being known. It's been 3 years now since that dinner at my parents' house. 3 years since my father told me Natalie deserved my wedding fund. 3 years since James stood up for me in a way no one in my family ever had. We've built a beautiful life. James and I both work. He started a new venture in renewable energy, and I've moved into consulting, helping nonprofits with financial strategy. We travel. We invest in causes we care about. We're talking about starting a family, about raising children who will never feel invisible, who will always know they matter. The Elena Whitmore Scholarship has helped 23 students so far. We increased the funding after the first year. Every semester, we meet the recipients. We hear their stories. Many of them sound like mine, kids who raised themselves, who learned to need nothing because asking meant disappointment. "You're giving them what you didn't have," James said once, watching me talk to a scholarship recipient. "No," I corrected. "I'm giving them what I did have. Resilience. Strength. The ability to survive. I'm just adding to it what I didn't have. Support. Recognition. Someone saying, 'I see you and you matter.' My family. I don't hear from them much anymore. Natalie sends a card every Christmas. Generic, guilt-laden messages about family and forgiveness. My mother texts occasionally, usually on my birthday, short messages that feel obligatory. My father never reaches out. I don't hate them. Hate requires too much energy. I simply don't engage. They made their choice. They chose Natalie. They chose comfort over fairness. They chose convenience over their daughter. And I chose myself. I chose James, who sees me. I chose his family, who welcomed me. I chose the life we built together, where I'm never invisible, never second best, never told I should be grateful for scraps. Sometimes people ask if I'll ever reconcile with my family. Maybe I tell them, if they ever actually change, if they ever genuinely apologize, if they ever acknowledge the harm they caused without justification or excuse. But I'm not holding my breath. And I'm not waiting for their love to feel complete, because I already am complete. I'm enough. I always was. They just couldn't see it. But James could. His family could. I could, eventually. And that's what matters. Last month, I ran into Natalie at a coffee shop. She was there with a toddler, a little girl with blonde curls. I hadn't known she'd had a baby. We locked eyes across the room. I saw her start to smile, then falter, uncertain. I walked over to her table. "Hi," I said. "Hi," she whispered. "This is Emma. My daughter." Emma looked up at me with Natalie's blue eyes. "Hi," she said shyly. "She's beautiful," I said, and meant it. "Thank you." Natalie paused. "Elena, I think about you all the time. About what I did. What we did. I know. I'm trying to be better. To raise Emma better. To not do what Mom and Dad did." "That's good," I said. "Do you think—" She stopped, swallowed hard. "Do you think we could ever—" "I don't know," I said honestly. "Maybe someday. But not yet." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I understand. I just want you to know. I'm sorry. Really, genuinely sorry. Not because of James's money or because I need something. Just because you deserved better. You always deserved better." "Thank you," I said. And I meant that too. I left the coffee shop feeling lighter. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of something. Or maybe just closure. Either way, it was enough. I drove home, to my house, my husband, my life, and I felt at peace. I'd been invisible for so long. But I wasn't anymore. And I never would be again. If this story resonated with you, remember, you are not invisible. You matter. Your worth isn't determined by how little you need or how much you endure. You deserve to be seen, celebrated, and loved, not despite your strength, but including your needs. Don't let anyone make you feel like asking for what you deserve makes you selfish. It makes you human. And to anyone who has ever been the forgotten child, the responsible one, the one who doesn't need help, I see you. You are enough. You always were.